everybody. We are so glad that you are here today with us. We have another great episode of the Nonprofit Show. And so I say, let's get started. We're really excited today because unless the clue of the Red Cross logo and banners behind Camille Ridley didn't give it away, we're going to be talking about the Red Cross and specifically blood drives and how nonprofits can kind of get involved and what that might look like. And so it's going to be a great conversation. As we're opening up, Camille, I think there are a lot of opportunities that have been missed and a lot of opportunities that need to be reformed on how we work together. So we want to stop and take a moment to thank all of our presenting sponsors. Without you, we would not be here talking about this amazing process that the Red Cross is involved in and that our nonprofits across the country can be involved in. I'm Julia Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. Hey, where's the nonprofit nerd? I think the nonprofit nerd, truth be told, Jarrett Ransom, is on a beach in Hawaii. Who knew? Who knew you could do that? Hey, we will have her back with us next week. But more importantly, we have Camille Ridley back with us. We were talking in the Chitty Chat that it's been about a year since you were on with us. When you were on with us, we were really in the depths of the pandemic. So we were talking about different things. Now we are moving forward with this rebound, recovery, whatever you want to call it. And so things are starting to kind of percolate. And so we thought, wow, let's get Camille back in here and kind of see what the Red Cross is up to and how maybe we can be engaged. But first and foremost, we think we know who the Red Cross is, Camille.
Yes.
We don't. So tell us, give us that old, I don't know, the atmosphere that surrounds the Red Cross.
Okay. Well, we're busy. Okay, well, so the American Red Cross, what we do is we prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers who are through the roof amazing, and the generosity of our donors. We do have, I really want to share this, we do have 7 universal principles as we're talking about the international reach of our organization. And those are humanity first, impartiality, neutrality, independence, voluntary service, unity, and universality. These are really key to us, and it really speaks to the fact that we have the desire, the dedication, and to meet our American public, our international public at the time of their darkest hours. We do a lot of work out there, and we do have 5 lines of service, starting with, I think, the line that most people are familiar with, and that's our disaster response. And right now, as I'm sure you're hearing across all media sources, the heightened level of our Western wildfire activity right now. We have along the southern coast, every year about this time through about the fall through the end of the year, we're in high hurricane season. We've had tornadoes in the Midwestern part of the country. And then there's also all kinds of weather patterns that can be anomalies and just very strange and different. And so we're responding to those. The largest disaster efforts that we respond to on a daily basis across the nation, and about 60% of our response time is dedicated to this, and that is home fires. I mean, who would have ever thought that home fires are such an elevated disaster across the nation, but they are. And it's huge. It's huge. And so that is where a lot of effort takes place. And it's amazing the type of resources that we do have available for that. And I do want to mention, and I should have backed up and mentioned this, that given the COVID-19 pandemic, the Red Cross has continued to be able to activate our services both virtually and in person, but we're doing it safely with appropriate PPE practices. And we do have a mask requirement. And so just so you're aware, we are following best practices and holding true to that. So we've got that first line of service. We have training services. So if you happen to be CPR certified, it's likely, not guaranteed, but likely that the American Red Cross helped to provide that training for you. So our training services arm is huge, from babysitter training, that CPR training, recertification for CPR, and so much more. So we are continuing to keep that activated. Again, some of it's virtual, some of it's in person, some of it's a hybrid, but we're still available to make sure that we are continuing that effort as well. Another line of service that we have that is also near and dear to our heart is services to the armed forces. We're able to help active members, families, children, veterans, and we do it by a variety of ways. Now, I could go into what each of these lines of services dives into. I'll save that because I encourage you to go to the redcross.org website and you can really get some detail on what we're doing in all of these lines of services because there's so much behind it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we also have our international services. So we're able to connect families that may have been displaced by international warfare, if you will, and even locally. And so we're able to provide a multitude of resources. As I'm sure you've heard with the border crisis and support, we have an opportunity to work with organizations down along the border and other places around the globe to provide essential goods, water, which is big, blankets. I mean, you wouldn't think, why would a blanket be so important? But when you are displaced and looking for safe shelter, that's a prime resource that we're able to provide. And masks, of course, right now with the pandemic. But that's really that section in a nutshell. And then we have our biomedical services arm of the organization. And that's where we'll talk later about the importance of the blood supply, how the Red Cross plugs into that, and so much more.
You know, I was involved in a very small part doing some volunteer work during one of the big migration crises, and I live in a border state. And there were just this influx of hundreds and hundreds of people. And there was a very large nonprofit that was engaging, trying to help in all this, as there were many nonprofits. And somebody was like, and this is in the nonprofit sector, somebody was like, call the Red Cross, we need cots. And I'll be damned, within a very short period of time, this massive truck pulled up and they started offloading cots that had blankets. And I don't think, I want to say they had small pillows. I could be wrong, but it was like the most amazing thing to witness. I was just a volunteer. I mean, I wasn't involved in anything other than very minimally, but to see that the other nonprofits knew, call the Red Cross. It was absolutely fascinating. So bravo. And I appreciate you sharing that bigger picture. But today we want to talk about the connection to blood drives. So many nonprofits have been isolated, and we're looking to, regain a community perspective. Blood drives are a great way for nonprofits to work with your nonprofit. I mean, can you kind of talk about how that might work a little?
Yes, absolutely. And I do want to open with, the summer months are the time where we need blood the most crucial of all times of year. There's a multitude of reasons why blood donations go down, vacation. I mean, there's a lot of different things that happen there. And so we are in a time of blood shortage, supply shortage, and that is pretty predictable year after year. Summer months are difficult. And so we keep blood drives going. We have hundreds of blood drives happening, maybe even into the thousands throughout the nation on a regular basis. And they're crucial because every 2 seconds, someone in the US needs a blood transfusion. Every 2 seconds. And the Red Cross is the largest supplier of blood across the nation. And so right now we provide 40% of that resource, and we're growing that as well. So we are a key player in the blood banking industry and blood supply. And so we are very much looking for any kind of support. in donating blood, you can go on to redcrossblood.org to plug in your zip code. It'll give you a list of all the blood drives that are happening. You can go online and register very simply with just a few mouse clicks. You could also, which is really snazzy, download for free either through the Apple Store, iTunes Store, or Google Play, and that is our free Red Cross blood donor app. It's really nice because you'll be able to look at any kind of FAQs that are on that site. You can get registered as a blood donor. You can do your pre-screen before even stepping into the donor site that you go to, and it also tracks your blood. They don't get into very personal information, but after you've donated blood, it will tell you your blood is on its way to a hospital or to a center in California or Texas. And so that is like the icing on the cake. It's really neat to see. So I encourage you to download that app and dial in and find out where you can give blood. Now, if you're not qualified to give blood, just simply sharing the good word about the importance of blood donation is all we could ask for. So there's that in a brief.
I love that. And I love that you just said sharing the word, because one of the things that I really want you to educate us on is the concept of blood supply and diversity. We've been speaking so much about diversity in our sector, with our teams, with our donors, all this stuff, which is a really important discussion. But the biomedical implications of this, we're not hearing about it.
Yes. Well, and this is a great question. And I get really excited talking about this because the Red Cross is in a 4-year informational and recruitment campaign on diversifying the blood supply. The Red Cross has always committed to diversity and inclusiveness. But right now we're really ramping up our efforts to go out and first educate people on blood donation and diversity and how, building that trust, building that rapport, and so we can get people in to come and donate blood. And so we are on that 4-year track. And why is it so important? Because right now, 86.3% of the blood that is collected comes from Caucasian donors. Then we've got 4.9% of the blood that we collect coming from our Latino and Hispanic communities. And then we've got 3.6% of our blood supply coming from Black Americans. And so based on those numbers, you can see we really want to increase the diversity, and not just based on culture. We are looking at all populations that exist right now. And so, based on the elders and youth and so much, the LGBTQ communities, we really want to diversify on all spectrums out there. And so it's really exciting to see the work that's being done. We do have internally and across the nation workforce groups that are helping to kind of segment that out. And so as an example, right now, I sit on the sickle cell, and I'll talk about sickle cell here in just a moment, the sickle cell workforce committee, and we are helping to, and this is for employee engagement. So if we're out there, sharing this information, we want to make sure we're practicing this on the inside. And so there are tools that we are creating right now, a playbook of sorts, to help get our employees internally excited and engaged, specifically in the sickle cell. But again, we segment this out. So there are other populations and groups that have their workforce groups coming together and working to build out so that we can just really get as much support, internal, external, and beyond. And so there's a lot happening with that. And so as far as sickle cell disease, that is also a really large and active campaign because with sickle cell, 100,000 Black Americans are living with the disease. And this is something that is a trait. So if you have 2 parents that have what's called the sickle cell trait when you are conceived and born, then you are much likelier to have sickle cell disease. It doesn't guarantee you will, or excuse me, it does guarantee you will. So with your two parents. Now with sickle cell, that is a painful disease. It causes anemia, different body pains, and it's something that does not have a cure for it at this moment in time. It does require monthly blood transfusions. And in order to get those blood transfusions, in order to match donors, it really requires blood that comes from sickle cell trait donors. And so with that, it's hard to find matches. And right now, 50% of the blood that we collect can be a qualifying match for sickle cell patients. But that's another 50% that we're leaving out. And so you can imagine how devastating that is, not having enough blood. And so, but I do want to retract. You do not have to have the sickle cell trait to be able to find a match for the blood for those patients. But it definitely is more, we find more of a match when the blood in general comes from our Black American donors.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, the genetic tracking of it
Yes.
to that blood supply.
Yes.
How are you doing this? I mean, are you doing this in communities of color, or are you trying just to do it nationally so that everybody can understand, or how are you going about this?
That's a great question. We are going out to the general public. So we've really ramped up our marketing efforts around this initiative because it really starts with education first. Yeah. What you don't know, you don't know. And so we have a variety of campaigns that are going out the door. And June has been a pretty special month because we started out on June 3rd with the celebration of Dr. Charles Drew's birthday. Who was Dr. Charles Drew? Well, we call him the father of the blood banking industry. And he was an African-American doctor who came up with the blood collection processes and equipment that falls around that. So we were able to celebrate him. And there's information on our website about who he is. He was tremendous, so historical. And the Red Cross definitely holds him near and dear to the family. And then we had Juneteenth. That just got kicked off the ground, so June 19th. And June 19th was also World Sickle Cell Donor Day as well. And so June was a great month to really be able to get these messages about diversifying blood out to the community. But it doesn't just rotate around one month. This is daily, this is weekly, monthly, and yearly. Yeah. And so, but it was a nice way to be able to start to really get out there and educate. And the Red Cross has created many positions across the nation, and they've done quite a bit of surveying to find out where do we want to position our relationship managers around blood diversity. And so they've added quite a few positions for staff members who will go out there and have that intentional focus in mind, and educating again, recruiting, and building goodwill and partnerships to host more blood drives in Black American communities. And that's a big effort that we have underhand.
Well, that leads me to my next question and point for discussion, and that is, how can the nonprofit sector walk this journey with you? I mean, we're looking for things all the time that do community outreach, that get beyond ourselves, that teach philanthropy, that teach community building. Yes. You know, all of these things. We all know about this. If you're watching a nonprofit show, you understand this concept. But sometimes I think we look askance at who we're going to partner with. We can become philanthropic snobs. We can be like, oh, they're too political. Oh, we compete with them for dollars. We don't want to lose donors. I mean, there's all of this bizarre stuff going on in the background. But with the Red Cross, how would we as a nonprofit move forward and try and join on some type of drive?
That is a great question. I'm glad you asked that today. The Red Cross, we have so many partnerships out there in the community. I'll quickly highlight one from our disaster services arm. And that is with the Salvation Army. As an example, we partner with them. They help us during these crucial disasters to help with food resources and others, because we'd like to say we can do it all, right? But we really can't. So it takes a lot of people to come together in community. And so as it relates to nonprofits and blood drives, we really welcome these nonprofits, and we have a laundry list of them that have to be the host. So the host sites, that's where they can really plug in, because part of diversifying and getting out there and being able to expand our operations is having a location to go to. Now we do have a mobile bus that we use, but you can imagine we have smaller beds, which means we can only collect smaller amounts. There can be mechanical issues and then booking issues. So the space is really key. And so we are regularly sharing information about upcoming blood drives. And we have these nonprofits who we work with who will help to circulate the information to their employees. They'll do employee challenges. And they may even select a day or a couple of days, it could be quarterly, where they, as a host of the blood drives or a supporter of blood drives, really message that out internally. And we've seen so much wonderful support, not only from additional nonprofit partners, but from corporate and individuals. So it's really about saying, hey, we raise our hand, we encourage blood donation. It's not a requirement. If you can't do it, just help us circulate the information.
Yeah, I love that attitude. I think that's such a great thing in, throughout the nonprofit sector, to be able to say, if you can't directly impact with us, can you share the information? I love that. I think that's like so powerful. Yeah. Good job, Camille. I'm really excited about that. Now, let's talk turkey. If you are a nonprofit and you're looking at this and you're like, yeah, we need to get our organization involved, and we want to kind of figure out how we can collaborate on a drive or whatever, how do we do that?
That's a great question. I'll put it simply put, if you go to redcross.org, you can go in there, and in the menu tab, it says ways to support, and you can donate financially. And just so you're aware, you can host the space, but if you want to be a financial host of the space and the blood drive itself, those go for $3,900. That includes our marketing, that includes our equipment, our staff time. It's a significantly low cost to be able to do that. But granted, you don't necessarily have to be a financial donor. We are looking for partners with space and bringing in your groups of people to a blood drive. So if you want to raise your hand to do that, you can find information on how to host a blood drive on redcross.org, and we'll have a team member based on your location get back to you. The next way is to raise your hand to sign up to donate blood if you are able. And third, if you're not, and really this can apply all the way around and in that rotation, is to share about the importance of donating blood. Given that every 2 seconds someone needs a blood transfusion, we're all just an incident away from needing that to happen and take place. So keeping that as front of mind and knowing that importance is truly important. And as I mentioned earlier, there is that Red Cross blood donor app. But I'd also like to mention, outside of blood, we are always looking for volunteers. And we need volunteers in all lines of service. And with the blood supply shortage, and when we are in our peak seasons, we always need volunteers to help with the check-in process and be on site or help with the behind the scenes administration. So please sign up to be a volunteer. We have a nice, simple application you can fill out on our website, and it's based on your interests of support. And our volunteer services team, they are tremendous in being able to take the information you're plugging in and matching you with an opportunity that is meaningful, right? We're not going to have you filing papers and doing those sorts of activities. We really have a lot of really great and very specific projects and work that you can do. And the training program, I mean, it goes on for days. You can learn so much, and that's free of cost, and just as one of the benefits that we provide to our volunteers. So it's very well put together.
Wow, it's so interesting when you mentioned the training. I'm thinking back about the times, I am sure I did the babysitting training through the Red Cross, and I know CPR, and I had completely forgotten about that, about how that would engage, into our communities. Really interesting and so powerful, Camille, that you would kind of bring this conversation around to us, especially now. I think it's been such a cool thing to reconnect with you, because this is that time when we are kind of coming out of our caves and we're looking around and we're saying, okay, what should we be doing? And the biomedical discussion right there, because we've had a biomedical crisis, it just is like so much more difficult to discuss, because we have an innate fear of all these topics about blood and medical things and being close to people. And, it's like, wow, what an incredible time to be engaged.
It is. And I've got to say, with the blood drives, because I am located here in Arizona, and my territory is Arizona, New Mexico. But at our chapter house location in Central Phoenix, where I go in from time to time for supplies and such, we have had so many blood drives happening there, and it has been so neat and really inspiring to see so many people, despite the challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic, coming out to donate blood. But it is a very safe process. Again, we're following those PPE practices, but it just really warms my heart to see a parking lot full of individuals who are coming to donate blood. And so despite all of the challenges and the odds, people really are real humanitarians, and they're coming out to help their fellow Americans. And it's a beautiful thing to witness, I must say.
Well, what a lovely representative you are of the organization. And, the American Red Cross is, I think, one of those things that every American can be proud of.
Yes.
The trajectory of what it has done and how it is done. And the whole thing on the house fires.
Yes. Yeah.
Just like blows my mind. I mean, we see on the news every night there's a house fire, and
there is.
All these different ways that the American Red Cross is getting involved in our communities is so powerful. Here's Camille's information, and check out redcross.org. So many ways for our nonprofits to get involved. And really an exciting time for us to, as in the nonprofit sector, to be looking at ways that we can engage. Again, I'm Julia Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. Jarrett Ransom, the nonprofit nerd, will be rejoining us next week. And so we wish her a happy birthday and good vacation. Again, we want to thank, I know, can you believe it? Summer vacations, summer birthdays, that's what it's all about. We want to thank all of our presenting sponsors who join us each and every episode, 300 plus episodes going strong. Without you, I always say this, but we would not be here. So we're so appreciative. We've also launched another show called Fundraising Events TV. Really interesting, just about the event business and the event side of fundraising, and that is hosted by Jason Champion. Wow, a great episode, Camille. You got me going for the day. I'm really excited, and I'm proud to know you. Keep up the great work, and we'll have you back again.
Okay, Julia, thank you so much to you and the Nonprofit Show. Jarrett, happy birthday. Thank you as well. And it's always a pleasure.
Well, it's been lovely. As we like to remind everyone, stay well so you can do well. We'll see you back here tomorrow, everybody. Bye.